Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Roslyn Layton. I'm an internet economist. And as Mr. Pittenger pointed out, my husband and I, we founded ChinaTechThreat, which is a think tank that is studying technology from the Chinese government, the malicious hardware, software, and business practices. And we try to put this in a knowledge center where people like you can learn about it and implement policies in your own country. So what I'm going to share with you today, after some brief remarks, are 8 keys to effective screens for foreign direct investment. But I'd like to, before I begin that, I would like to take a step back to describe just how hard it is to do this work. Because many things that we think, oh, let's look for covered transactions, let's look for certain kind of deals. We actually don't know what can turn out to be malicious today, because 10 years in the future, that's what happens. I experienced this when I did my PhD, and in 2015, I could already see that TikTok was larger than any American app in terms of downloads and revenue. It was already a red flag. We could have done something about it then, but because of our sort of open internet policies around the world, we allow China to send its apps and services to our country, whereas all of our content gets blocked by China. And that has been the case for 20 to 30 years. We have a report about this at Strand Consult called You're Not Welcome. Just go to our website and you can download that free report. So the point is, today it's almost impossible to stop TikTok because now we have free speech issues, we have 150 million users in the United States alone. But something could have been done when it was a smaller entity and to be able to arrest the challenge at that time. Probably the biggest failure of foreign direct investment was the situation with Lenovo, which today is the world's largest PC maker. And this evolved because the United States allowed IBM to sell their laptop division to this company and had a subsequent acquisition allowing Lenovo to buy Motorola assets. So fortunately, thanks to Mr. Pittenger's FIRMA Act, those things will not happen today because now we realize the value of personal data, we realize those things. But those controls were not involved. They were not part of the policy until 2017, and it began the major review. So that is really why some of these things are so important. So this is something Mr. Pittenger and I worked on, this report. You can go to ChinaTechThreat and download the report. But it basically shows you that the number of deals from China to the United States exploded around 2016, 2017. And CFIUS, this organization of Treasury, really had to step up its game. And many deals were blocked. And the work of that legislation in FIRMA allowed the Treasury Department to block deals, unwind them, impose conditions, and so on. And that actually happened in many cases. So the message for all the policymakers here is that you have to review. You've got to go back and say, you know, where did we fall short? What did we do wrong? And it's very important to update legislation so that things can stay current. It's hard to do, but this is the work that's involved. Now, on the idea about TikTok, this is a case where this doesn't fall under the category of a company investing in the US. But now it doesn't matter because all kinds of businesses and people use it. So it doesn't matter that they've bought a, let's say, US company, because in fact everyone's putting their data and activities there. It's even better than that. So, but to give you this example about how challenging it is, I have a new report now called Cash Over Country. This is about the United States makers of semiconductor tools. These are the machines that make chips. US companies are allowed to sell these machines to China, and China can make chips. Now, so essentially, we still allow the means of production to be sold to China. And this is completely sanctioned, it's going forward, and you can see how much money American companies are making. So when I say this to you, it's only to recognize how difficult it is, because you have to fight against parties who want to profit from who want to profit from doing business in China, who want to use these services, even though it puts the rest of us at risk. So anyway, what can be done to work against this? So I think as Mr. Zani said, having the right screens are important, and you also have to be able to do this at scale. But first of all, the national security focus is critical. You need to have the legislation that empowers your agencies to have national security focus. It cannot be purely trade related. It has to be related to the security and the safety. The next thing is you need to look very broadly. Just confining the review to national security areas is not sufficient. We have challenges in the United States where we have to look at farmland. Chinese want to buy areas near military bases, real estate, all sorts of seeds, pharmaceuticals, all things related to that which might not fall under traditional national security categories. So you need to have this broad review. Startups are also important, especially AI, quantum, 5G, things related to that. But even things that are seemingly not technological can actually have important implications. The other thing is you also have to be able to identify transactions at scale. Now, I think as Mr. Zani pointed out correctly, there's been a huge amount of foreign direct investment. It's largely between allies. In the United States, 90% of the investment is from allies. That is a valuable thing. You trust the countries, you work together, and that's good. So that does help in triaging what you need to look at. But nevertheless, there's still a lot of work to identify those transactions. The other part is you have to make sure that you have the authority to mitigate, block, and unwind deals. And again, to monitor and enforce those conditions. It's not enough to just say it. You have to be able to have the ability to implement and do it. Confidentiality is important. You need to be able to have the trust of the enterprises that you're working with, their teams, their lawyers, and so on. That trust is important. In many cases, companies might not realize that there is a concern with a particular deal. Maybe they have front owners. They don't know who the real owners are. So you also have to have that room for parties to come forward to be able to say, look, we're not sure about this. We would, let's work together to do it. Having that space for the confidential dialogue is important. The other part, this reform, very important reform that Mr. Pittenger led, also included the necessary budgetary resources and the staffing. That was really critical to be able to do these things. You can't forget about the real world money that has to be spent in order to do effective screening. And then finally, of course, we're all trying to adapt to new challenges. It's very difficult, but that's the world we live in, and we have to remain open and vigilant to all of the devious ways that foreign direct investment can be abused.